Welcome to another edition of Buc What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Super Heavyweight. You follow me and I'll follow you back. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Buccaneers' victory versus the Carolina Panthers. Really good game and a lot of action. And a lot of people weren't real happy with the way the game went, but I'm very excited that the Bucs were able to come away with the win. It was one of those games where there was a lot of injuries and you just didn't know what was going to happen. And tonight I'm joined by my special guest, somebody who's been following the show, and I wanted to have him on, Eric Moreno. Eric, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, and we'll start with that.
The best way to get a hold of me is on Twitter at Eric Moreno 1234. That's the best way to get a hold of me.
Sweet. So let me get your thoughts on the game and how you thought everything went.
We had a lot of injuries on the D line, but the guys stepped up and they played a pretty good game. It was a win. A little sloppy, but hey, a win's a win.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's kind of cool to get the fans' perspective. I know you're there in Lakeland, Florida, I believe. And
Yes, sir.
what's the vibe there? What's everybody saying about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and how they played and how they performed?
They're pretty excited. That's a good thing about living in Florida. I'm about 40 minutes from Tampa. I've been to the two home games this year. The first one, wasn't pretty. The second one, two rain delays. The first home game, we, up 10 points, and then almost came back at the end. But
So basically, what do you think? Like right now, the Bucs are 2-3. A lot of people thought that this, with the schedule the way it was, that the Bucs wouldn't come away with any wins. So the fact that the Bucs went into Atlanta and won, they've gone into Carolina and won, they've lost against the defending Super Bowl champions, and they beat the runner-ups. So that's not bad. The Rams game is a game they should have won. Once again, in the grand scheme of things, the way you have to look at it, this is still a brand new coach. I don't care how you look at it. He was an offensive coordinator. He's being utilized in a different capacity now. So he is a new head coach. And when you look at that, along with, say, the defensive coordinator and the different coaching staff, it's taken a little bit for things to gel, but they are slowly but surely gelling. And just keep in mind, Gerald McCoy didn't play. Robert Ayers didn't play. Doug Martin didn't play. And
Luke
the Bucs
Stalker.
were still – yeah, Luke Stalker. And
That's
all
Walker.
these players that were injured, and Tampa was still able to come away with the win in an away game that, for all intents and purposes, they should have lost. Derek Anderson has had the Bucs number for I don't know how many years. And
Best
you think
backup
about
quarterback in the league.
yeah, and think about this too. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have not beat the Carolina Panthers since 2012, I believe.
6 straight wins in a row.
Exactly. And you couple that with them finally getting over the hump with the Saints and splitting a game with them last year, beating the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, I think this team is trending in the right direction. Now, one thing that I will mention, because I do want to get into this, is I've heard a lot of criticism for the head coach. I've heard a lot of criticism for the defensive coordinator. And I've heard a lot of criticism for some of the players that have been drafted, so on and so forth. But what you have to consider, I know you want to win now. I understand that. I get that. But this team, it's realistically, it's going to take time. You look at the culture that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization has had over this period of time, going all the way back to John Gruden getting fired till now. They just haven't had that many winning seasons. So it takes a little bit to learn how to win, so to speak. I thought that this game here on Monday was a good direction for the Bucs to go in learning how to win those games. Because you look at this game, this is a game they could have easily lost and lost bad.
Yes, I agree.
So, what were some of your highlights of the game? I'm going to start with that. This game against the Carolina Panthers, which the Bucs won 17-14. Give me a couple of your highlights, what you thought were good plays and what you thought were good. It gave us good momentum going into the bye week.
Was it the second quarter? Derek Anderson dropped back. Hargraves tipped it and went to the hands of Daryl Smith. And I thought that was that was a huge turning point in the game. And another one was.
And I mean, cut you off, but speaking of that play, what are your thoughts on Vernon Hargraves throughout the first 5 games of the season? What do you think? How is he progressing in your opinion?
I think it's progressing well. I'm a huge Gators fan, so I love Hargraves. So it's one of my favorite players. I see a lot of similarities. A younger Joe Hayden. Joe Hayden's getting up in there in age. He's still a good corner, but
he's just on a very bad team.
5'10". Yeah.
So, and now let me ask you this. This is kind of leading into the next question I have. What do you think about what they've done with the secondary? I know that there's been a lot of negative comments about, Brent Grimes and, the rest of the secondary, the safeties, so on and so forth. But overall, I mean, compared to all you can do is compare them to last year's team. What do you think about this Buccaneers secondary versus last year's secondary?
We have Brent Grimes. I thought that was a solid addition to the offseason. There was a report out there that if he didn't get out of his contract with the Dolphins, he was going to retire. I don't know if that is true or not.
Yeah, it is.
But I saw him make one of the best plays I've seen on TV or, just any play. And John Gruden goes, why do you even make that throw? They're on the 1-yard line. They have, Tolbert and what's the other running back? What's his name? I forgot his name. But, that was a turning point in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And, what we saw there was this Buccaneers team, they did finally get down a little bit, but they fought back and they showed me something because I've seen times where the Bucs have gotten down, shit. They pretty much just mailed it in. But this is one of those games where they actually fought to, to basically stay in there and keep that game going and keep it competitive. I feel like, a lot of the things they were able to do were predicated on the fact that Jameis Winston did not fumble the ball, did not have any turnovers. That's very vital right there. We look at some of the games that they lost in the field position that the opposing defense was able to give their offense, and that really changes the way you call a game because the Bucs are a run-first team. And they, since Dirk Cutter has been there, even Lovie Smith, they've always been a run-first team. And the fact that there weren't any turnovers, they were able to execute their game plan and keep things going the way they should go. So, props to them and, what they were able to do. Jacquizz Rodgers, I thought did an excellent job, for, 31 touches for 101 yards or something like that.
30 carries for 103 yards, about 3.46 carries a game. That's not, not too bad.
But still, that's what keeps the clock moving. That's what keeps the game going right there is keeping that running game going. And you're not forcing Jameis Winston to go over 33 passes a game, and that puts you in a good position to win. And that takes some of the weight off of Jameis' shoulder. Now, what you can tell a difference with this year from last year is you had a healthy Doug Martin last year, and he was a big portion of the offense last year, which gave Jameis Winston a lot more options to get the ball out. So as far as I'm concerned, I thought that, they did good with the running game, and they game planned well. I know that a lot of people are kind of upset with the play calling, but, that's why we're fans, and that's why coaches coach, and GMs do what they do,
Yes, sir.
I'm just happy with the win because it's one of those games that it could have pretty much torpedoed our season going in at 500 in the division for one, and then only having a one win going into the bye week. That could have really hurt our season. So you've got players that are coming back healthy now, and that's really exciting too, because if you can win games without your starting guys, that's good when the starters get back in there. That gives you a little bit more depth and a little bit more rotation. So that's something to really look forward to. So, no, go ahead, please.
And you bring up a great point. Getting Lewis Murphy back, brings us, gives us another dimension. Lewis Murphy gives us something, the Bucs at receiver don't really have. Another downfield threat, speed, third down cushion,
Yeah. And you know what? You can only hope that he comes back, as healthy as he was before he was injured. I know with these type of knee injuries, you look at Darrelle Revis.
Yeah.
It took Darrelle Revis almost a whole season and a half to get back to somewhat close to what he was before the injury. His whole time in Tampa was basically him recovering. So that's something to consider as well.
The safety from the Honey Badger, he had surgery in January, and he's, he was, I don't think he played week 1, but, he had a pretty good game against the Bucs in week 2.
Yeah, he's a freak of nature.
Week 3.
Yeah, he's a freak of nature. And there's a place called Shutdown U. Jude Aje-Barima worked out there over the summer. Honey Badger has worked out there as well. And those guys there work wonders on secondary players. They get players in position. Patrick Peterson has worked out with those guys. They do an amazing job at, Shutdown U here in Scottsdale, Arizona. They know what they're doing. So, props to them and what they're able to do to, get people healthy and back up and running. But, getting back to the game, we talked about some of the plays that you really liked. Let me get some thoughts on plays that really had you kind of irritated. As a fan, you worry about stuff like that.
Was it a second and 9, and Jameis Winston almost throws a pick. Was it Kurt Coleman? He kills the Bucs. When he was playing with the Eagles, he's been with the Panthers for a while. That's one of those throws. You wish you had back. As John Gruden said, that was nearly a pick, but
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, And that's kind of been my thing as keys to the game. As I've gone through this week in and week out, turnovers can kill a team. And especially the Bucs. The Bucs are in a position to where you have to be able to keep the ball, manage the ball, and get downfield. And it's important to score touchdowns. I'm sorry, that's just in today's NFL, it is important to get touchdowns. And if anything, you have to come away with something, which kind of leads me to the next part of this. And I want to get your thoughts on this. Roberto Aguayo. I know that a lot of people are calling for his head and he's a horrible kicker and they need to cut him and comparing him to Brenza from last year and so on and so on. He was a second-round pick. We gave up a second-round pick to get him when actually it was a third-round pick, and they traded up off of a move that they made in the first round to get Hargraves where they got him at. So I thought it was a good move. It's something that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers needed to address, and I thought that they needed to address it. I didn't see anything wrong with it. This guy's a rookie, and I'm not making excuses for him. It is what it is. He's got to make those kicks, but at the end of the day, he's a rookie. It may take him a little bit to get acclimated to the NFL. Look at Sebastian Janikowski. He had a horrible rookie season.
20 of 28. He missed like 7 or 8 field goals, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, it's one of those things that we as fans, I know it's hard to see it. It's hard to say it, but you have to be patient with this. I mean, you can't, unless you go root for another team, you have to wait and see what happens with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When things come together, they come together. And we saw what the Bucs are capable of doing against the Atlanta Falcons. So I feel like this team is a good team when everybody's healthy. And, once again, that win against Carolina was huge going into the bye week. So, with that being said, any players, who's your for that game, who would you give your game ball to for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on that Carolina Panthers game? I'll put you on the spot, huh?
One of the first guys you mentioned, Jaquiz Rogers, already down Doug Martin, Charles Sims, and then we have, Jaquiz Rogers. I think they ran the ball 6 straight times for what a way to establish the run game. I think he had like 11 carries the first drive or something like that.
Yeah, and see, those are things that are important right there in establishing your offense and being able to stick to your game plan is making sure that you're successfully able to run the ball. Very important. And what we saw was, when the Bucs are able to run the ball and Jameis Winston doesn't have to throw 70 or 90 or 100 times in the game, they can do big things. But when you have turnovers and you're losing the field position battle, it makes it an uphill climb. And you want to keep games close, because one thing I will say, and I'm going to go ahead and say this, I've been kind of harsh with Jameis Winston, but that's our quarterback. That's our franchise quarterback. And all I see are big things for him in the future. So if he can learn to play within himself and take what the defense gives him and not go for the home run ball all the time, I see big things for him. I see him having a really good season this season, despite the early start and all the turnovers. I think he can turn all that around. And you see what he can do, when he doesn't have any turnovers. And another guy that really hasn't been mentioned, that really should be mentioned, is Mike Evans. Mike Evans is balling this year. Everybody was down on him. I can't even – I wish I had my list out of people on Twitter that were just like, he's a bust, he's horrible, because he had all those drops. But what you have to consider is the injuries he had last year, and he's not playing like he did last year. I think him and Jameis have developed a cohesiveness that, you hope that some of the other wide receivers kind of catch on with that, and they're able to make plays as well. But I'm real happy with what I'm seeing from Mike Evans. What do you think?
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. He's already surpassed his touchdown total from last year. He seems more focused. He seems he has better chemistry with Jameis. Which is the number one thing. You want from a receiver, from a quarterback standpoint. If the quarterback and the receiver are not on the same page, then it's gonna be hard to to give him the ball and stuff like that.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's very important. Making sure that the quarterback and your number one wide receiver are making plays. One guy that I do expect big things from after the bye week is Vincent Jackson. He's somebody that we haven't heard a lot from, but I feel like he's going to be a big contributor in the second half of the season. He's one of those guys that's very reliable, normally has good hands, and I think getting him involved in the offense is going to be huge. So that's another guy to really look forward to having back in here, along with Cameron Brate and getting Humphreys involved as well. So getting Doug Martin back and Gerald McCoy back after the bye is going to be amazing. It's going to be huge for this team, huge boost. Have you heard about Robert Ayers? Is he? Do we know if he's close to coming back or not?
I heard he was trying to play against the Broncos. Of course, the Broncos drafted him. If I was a betting man, if we had a game this week, I would imagine he would play. But extra week, ankle injuries. I know he was in a boot a couple of weeks ago.
I think that was precautionary.
Yeah. He had got hurt against Arizona, and then came out, and then he came back in, and I was like, it's probably a high ankle sprain, probably 2-3 weeks,
Yeah, most
for
definitely.
DN, that's very important.
Hey, I do want to give a shout out to my man Andy Finley. He's the hugest Bucs fan in Scotland. Huge. Guy I got to hang out with while I was over in the UK. I just want to give him props for checking out the show. Thanks, Andy. And, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to say Dirk Cutter. Dirk Cutter would get my game ball if I were, I didn't really get to talk about who I would have given it to. But Dirk Cutter is my guy. And a lot of people may be mad with his play calling or whatever, but you look just 2 years ago, the Bucs won how many games? Two seasons ago, 2 games. And these are games that were winnable. A lot of those games were winnable games. And you look at where the Bucs are now, and I feel like Dirk Cutter, he needs to be given a chance, just like everybody else has been given a chance. So that's a guy that despite what a lot of people may say, that's a guy that deserves to get a game ball. And on top of that, Bucs fans, don't call for a coach's head anymore, please. Give the guy at least 3 seasons. This has been. I'm gonna break from what we're gonna talk about just for a second, and I've made this rant before. Bucs fans, we have to have consistency. If you look at the great teams, the Steelers, the Green Bay Packers, the Patriots, teams that consistently win, the one thing that they have in common is they don't jump on the coaching carousel. They've unplugged it and tore that bad boy down. You know why? Because you have to have consistency. That's important. You look at Ron Rivera and what Ron Rivera was able to do with the Carolina Panthers when he was given time to implement his program, implement his coaches, and get players in that would play in his system. And having a good general manager that works with you didn't hurt either. They were able to get to the Super Bowl for being that consistent. So I think it's important to remember, it's rough right now. I mean, the Bucs are 2-3. They could easily be, 1-4, but they're not. Here's where we are.
3-2.
Yeah, there you go. But where they are right now, all we can do is just be happy they didn't lose to the Carolina Panthers. And that game against the Rams, they should have won that game. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Yeah. They didn't. We moved past that.
Brutal.
And it was just that was painful to watch. I hate the Rams going all the way back to '79. But I'm giving my age away. But as right now, I think fans should be really happy with getting players back healthy. We're getting ready to face a San Francisco 49ers team that is a beatable team. I think if you stop the run. If you stop the run and Tampa doesn't have any costly turnovers or any turnovers, let's start there. No turnovers, and they're able to establish the run. I feel like Tampa can win this game. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Tampa could win this game. I don't see a reason why they couldn't. And you look at the back end of the schedule and look at some of the defenses that Tampa's going to be facing. And, it's like I see a lot of winnable games.
Oakland, we get 3 straight home games. So, this will be our 3rd win on the road, and we would have no home
Right.
wins. That's crazy.
Yeah, and that's something that can get cleaned up. If you go back and look at the game film on some of these games, a lot of these mistakes are coachable.
Yeah.
These are things that can be fixed. And I don't see that it's talent. I think that it's consistency and getting players out there. And you know what? When we have Dirk Cutter back next year and Mike Smith back next year, hopefully, we'll have consistency. We'll start to build that consistency. And, in the meantime, learning how to win these games. These are winnable games. Every Sunday, you can go out and win that game.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the Bills. The Bills, nobody picked the Bills to win last week, and they went in and won. So,
Arizona.
Yeah. So anything's possible. Anything is possible. So fans, don't jump out the window. I know it's tough to sit through these games and go through these games. I've been struggling myself. And, that game on Monday was ugly. It was a real ugly game. And you just felt like, oh, man, I don't want to watch this. But at the end of the game, when you come out with a win, you're glad you watched it. So, that's one thing that I'm looking forward to with this 49ers team. And once again, Colin Kaepernick will be the starting quarterback. They're running. They're going to run the ball. They're going to try to establish the run. With Colin Kaepernick, he is a dual threat. So this is going to require our players on defense, or the Bucs players on defense, to be very disciplined and play in their assignments and not try to get on ESPN making plays, but play in your assignments. And I think that's a lot of what's kind of hurt the Bucs at times is players being out of place. Now, the one thing that still really scares me is the Bucs safety position. Is one of those things that was kind of a deficiency. We have players that are okay. I believe Keith Tandy will be coming back. Am I correct on that? I think he should be available come.
He was available in Carolina, I believe. He was questionable with the knee, I believe.
Yeah. So, that's another thing that you hope that everybody comes back healthy and everybody can contribute. I feel like with Ayers and Gerald McCoy coming back, I think that would be huge for Tampa. Those are guys. Yeah. Is Clint now? Where is he at? Do we know where Clinton McDonald is health-wise? Do we know if he's close to coming back?
I was at the Bucs-Rams game and, listened to the radio on the way back home. No, it was the Broncos game, and he had pulled they were coming out for warm-ups, and he had pulled a muscle in his hamstring. So, I think he will be, with the extra week, he will be good to go. He had practice that Thursday, but, I don't think it's nothing too serious.
Okay. Well, there we go. So, with that being said, that's going to be a added bonus. And, what I want to do right now, I want to get your keys to the game. We talked a little bit about the Carolina Panthers game. We have the San Francisco 49ers up next. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on this team and how you feel what you feel that Tampa can do to win this game.
Come back to what you said, establish the run game, no turnovers, I think this may come down to the kicking game. If it does, we need, I think Aguayo will, step up to the occasion. Hopefully, the end of the Carolina game, the game winner will give him confidence. Going into after the bye week, hopefully that.
You know what? I'm going to agree with you right there, and it's something I got my fingers crossed, both of them. I'm hoping that this is a confidence builder for Roberto Aguayo. I like him. I like his confidence. I like the fact that he may have missed those kicks, but this was a game winner, and he won that game for us with that kick. And all I need is 2 more to have 3, which is what I predicted that Aguayo would win us. his 3 games before the end of the season with his leg. So, I'm well on my way. But to me, you're right, and I'm gonna jump on that. Defense has to get pressure on the quarterback. They have to be disruptive. They have to. Another guy that we really need to mention and give props to is Quan Alexander. Quan Alexander is quietly having a good season, and I love what he's doing. And him and Levante David, I love what they bring to this team, and I'm so excited for our linebacking core, and I think that they're going to continue to make big plays throughout the season. So that's another plus that I feel like Tampa has going into the bye week and getting ready for the back end of the season. So with that being said, what I wanted to do now, we're at the midpoint of the season, we're at our bye week, and I wanted to get your thoughts on who your bye week, up to the bye week MVP is. Who's your guy right now? That one guy that stood out from game 1 to game 5, and he's a guy that you would say, this is my MVP up to this point.
I'm gonna have to go with Mike Evans. He's been, it's been, week 1, that huge touchdown catch. I think the only, he did pretty good against the Broncos. It was kind of lopsided score, but I think he had like 5 catches or something like that.
Bro, his route running's gotten so much better too. And I think, didn't he score a touchdown where he juked the hell out of somebody? And
yeah, he burnt.
I can't think of who it was. I remember the play, and the guy bit like he was going to jump the route, and Mike just ran on past him. But what I'm seeing from Mike Evans is something. If you go back to my podcast from last year, I mentioned that in the grand scheme of things, Mike Evans hadn't been playing football all that long. When you consider he played as a senior in high school, and I think he played 2 seasons of college, and then he went to the NFL.
Yep.
Was it 2 seasons, 3? Yeah, he's redshirted. So he played truly 2 seasons in college, and then he played, 2 seasons of pro ball. I think that, what he's been able to do is amazing. If you imagine what he could have done had he taken full advantage of college and, and honed his craft there, I think he's on pace to do some big things for this organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to agree with you. Yeah.
So for you, you're talking about Mike Evans. I cannot argue with that. That is a good MVP. For me, I'm gonna go out there, and I'm gonna stick with the head coach. As I mentioned before, Dirk Cutter gets my game ball. He's a coach that you really. I think that as he progresses, I think he's going to get a little bit sharper, in some of his play calling. But what he's been able to do right now, I think he's done a good job, considering a lot of people picked maybe one win for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers out of the front end of the games they played versus this, the schedule. I mean, that's all you heard about in the beginning of the year or the beginning of the season was how brutal the schedule was for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the one game that they really got the wheels blown off was the Cardinals game, and then they had that rough game against the Denver Broncos. But other than that, I feel like those other games were all winnable games. The one game that they did against the Rams, they should have won that game. And I feel like this team is headed in the right direction. So for me, Dirk Cutter is a big part of this. I think he's established that the no nonsense approach where you look at what happened with Austin Seferian-Jenkins, and you see that this is a guy that's serious about wanting to win. He's serious about accountability, and another cool thing is he's not afraid to own up when he makes a mistake. And when was the last time you saw that in a head coach in Tampa?
I haven't seen in a while. John Gruden, Tony Dungy.
Yeah. Yeah, Sam Weiss was a lot of the same way as well, where he would own up to what he whatever he did. But for me, the one thing that like I said, I'm really excited about is Tampa is they're going into this with a win, so that's going to give them a lot of confidence for the San Francisco 49ers game. So I'm not going to make a pick or anything like that, but how do you feel about Tampa facing the 49ers? Do you think that's a winnable game?
Yeah. Another point, I heard Carlos Hyde has been off to a great year. If they can stop Carlos Hyde, stop the run game, that'll force Kaepernick, get him in, it's like a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, uncomfortable, where the defense, just playing their base defense.
Right.
And force turnovers. Kaepernick, has he'll tend to be aggressive with the ball. Especially throwing on the run. They got a couple guys. Torrey Smith, Jeremy Curley. They're all right, but
and once again, this is where it's very important for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to be able to execute their defensive game plan as well as their offensive game plan, play in their assignments, and not give up any big plays. And I think that if they keep this game close, I think this is a game that Tampa can win. And the reason I say that is because, again, our franchise quarterback, Jameis Winston, one of those guys who I really feel like he fights to the end. He may make mistakes and stuff like that, but he's really a fighter. He's one of those players that really wants to win, and he does whatever he can to win. So, a lot of people are questioning him right now and what he's doing or where his mind is at. But I feel like Jameis, I'm more comfortable with having Jameis in. I think that he always gives Tampa a chance to win when given the right opportunity.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. And the 49ers secondary, they have they had a couple guys, Antoine Bethea, Eric Reed are pretty good. But, I think our receivers can handle, their corners.
Yeah, I agree. So, the one thing that we can kind of take from all this is that this team, this Buccaneers team, they can win some games. If everything works out and they cut down on the penalties and go out there and execute like they're supposed to, I think they can win some games. So, any final thoughts for you? This is a bye week. Next week, I'll get into a lot more detail when we're game planning for the San Francisco 49ers. I'll be able to talk a little bit more about this. But Eric, I want to thank you for being on. Any final thoughts before we jump out of here?
Nothing from the top of my head.
All right.
Nothing that I can think of.
Well, folks, this is what makes this show different from everybody else. I thought it was cool to have a fan, a Bucs fan on that follows the game and he actually goes to games. And that's what's important. I talk to a lot of people who don't even go to Bucs games, but they're overly critical or whatever. This is somebody right here who spends his money on tickets. He goes to games. He lives in Lakeland. And by the way, Lakeland's like a 45-minute drive, depending on the traffic, to get to a game. And this guy does this. And, that's respect. That's respect right there, man. You deserve to have a voice out there, say what you have to say. So, and something that brings up a point before I jump off here, I really wanted to get your thoughts on this. What do you think the Bucs have to do to develop that home field advantage? Because since since Gruden, they really haven't had that home field advantage. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I think since 2014 was like 3-15 or something like that.
Yeah, something crazy.
On the road, it's like, I don't know. I think, we've been a pretty good road team, so, if we can get the home, if we can establish, get some home wins, you're looking at playoff team, every year.
Yeah, most definitely. And once again, just having that consistency. They've got Doug Martin signed, Gerald McCoy signed, Levante David is signed, and you've got your foundation. If everybody could stay healthy, Clinton McDonald comes back. Ayers will have Ayers for a little bit. This team can do some things. Fix the safety position a little bit, and just get key players in and continue to hit on the draft. And I think that you're looking at a quality team for some years to come. So my final thoughts are this. Buccaneers fans, we've been through so much. I mean, you go all the way back to John Gruden winning the Super Bowl. We've only had one season that has been like major, and that was during 2010 with Raheem Morris, where we were this close.
10-6.
10-6, maybe this close to going to the playoffs.
4 or 5 teams lose.
Exactly. Do not give up hope. Promise you, this team is eventually going to turn the corner. I think they're trending in the right direction. They're hitting on a lot of draft picks and more draft picks than they have in the past. So it's something to definitely keep your eye on. This is the team that's going to be trending upward, and I see with consistency, I see this team doing big things in the future. So despite what you see, don't jump out the window. You may be stressed out, but yeah, tune in next week and we keep going. So that's pretty much it for me. Go ahead.
Oh, I forgot I was gonna. That's the type of win. That can turn a season around. Turn the culture around. Turn the fan base around.
Absolutely. We got to get them at home, though. That's what's important too.
Yeah.
And you as a person that buys tickets and goes to games, I feel bad for you guys. I was a season ticket holder myself when I lived in Tampa, so I know how it is. And you don't want to pay all this money to go and watch your team lose. So
Definitely.
You just got to have faith that the general manager, we've got the right general manager in place, and the right head coach in place, and we kind of go from there. So once again, folks, hang in there. We've seen rough times before, and we've seen winning times, and we're ready to see some more winning times. So hang in there. And that's pretty much it for me. This is kind of short and sweet this week. Join me next week. I will have Peter Blake, and hopefully I can get Rick Brown on from today's Pigskin and get some thoughts and analyzing the game against the San Francisco 49ers. So please be sure to join me next week, and I'll have a whole lot more for you. And once again, thanks for checking out Buc What You Heard. Eric, thank you, my friend. Continue to follow. Maybe, somewhere in the future I can get another fan on here and have them on and do the same thing. So everybody have a good evening and peace.